Hi, this is Kenneth Kolb, and this is The Right View, the politically incorrect common sense podcast. The podcast for fair and balanced discussions of topics outside the comfort zone, looking at issues from different points of view, intentionally provocative to elicit thoughtful debate, looking at social impact of virtual signaling and political correctness. Why only reinforce your established opinions? Get outside the echo chamber. Facts matter, information is knowledge, and knowledge is power. The Right View podcast. And today I'll be looking at how the left is changing society by controlling the historical narrative. In 2001, the historic intolerant Taliban blew up two ancient Buddha statues in Afghanistan on grounds that their very existence was sacrilegious to Islam. In 2015, ISIS militants entered a museum in Mosul, Iraq, and destroyed ancient pre-Islamic statues and idols. The crime? These artifacts insulted the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. The West prides itself for being a society of liberal, open-thinking tolerance that would never descend into such barbaric, mindless, oppressive destruction. Not since the epidemic of statue destructions during the French Revolution or China's Cultural Revolution has the world seen anything like the current war on history. Unlike political revolutions, cultural revolutions have, at their core, not only political, but basic social reprogramming. And to achieve a dramatic cultural change, all historical facts underpinning the culture must also be rewritten. Make no mistake, there is and has been a concerted effort by liberal social political elites to execute sweeping, dramatic core changes to Western culture and values. Veiled as globalization, political correctness, and woke culture, the basic endgame is a cultural revolution on the size and scale of the Chinese Cultural Revolution. And we see it in the current actions to remake history by demonizing for the sake of removing murals, statues, and historical figures. In America, there has been a crusade to erase the memory of Italian explorer Christopher Columbus. Los Angeles removed the Columbus statue in 2018 based on the premise that his 1492 discovery of the Americas began a disastrous genocide. In New York, there is a renewed zealot push to remove the statue of Columbus that was erected in 1892 by Italian immigrants in the memory of the 11 Sicilian immigrants that had been acquitted of murder and were then lynched in New Orleans. It was one of the largest mass lynchings in American history. Yet the meaning of the statue to Italian-American community is lost on those who only see it as a symbol of bad and not good. Yet knocking down images of Columbus will not change the fact that millions of indigenous people in Central America and Mexico are currently abandoning their ancestral homes and immigrating northwards to quite different landscapes that reflect European and American traditions and political, economic, and cultural values. If we are to judge Columbus by strictly only one matrix, a single dimension such as disastrous genocide, communities should topple statues honoring various Aztec gods throughout the Americas. After all, the Aztec Empire annually butchered thousands of innocent men, women, and children captives on the altars of their hungry gods. The Aztecs were certainly far crueler conquerors, imperialists, and colonialists than were the Spanish conquistadors. Yet apparently the Aztecs, an indigenous people, earn a pass on the systematic mass murder of their enslaved indigenous subjects. If you read the Federalist Papers, specifically Madison Federalist Number 10, Madison was fearful of what he called tyranny from the minority. He drew a distinction between a republic and a pure democracy, where in a republic, government is a scheme of representation that takes place via elected officials. The basic problem that Madison was addressing was the danger of factions in the democratic government and the way this danger could be cured. For example, how the government could be organized so as to prevent factions from undermining the purpose of good government. He knew that a democracy, factions, groups of citizens with interests that are adverse to the rights of other citizens or to the best interest of the whole nation would emerge, and because of our human nature, such groups are inevitable. Moreover, in a free society, they are unavoidable because they result from the different interests and opinions that arise from persons differently situated. In the past few years, there's been a rash of statue toppling throughout the American South, aimed at wiping out all Confederate war memorials marking the death of hundreds of thousands of men. They serve as a testament to what divisiveness can do to a nation. Nevertheless, many Confederate statues were torn down or defaced in the dead of night. City councils voted to change names and remove icons after being bullied by small pressure groups and media hysteria, whilst they rarely referred the issue to referenda. A referendum vote on their removal would have been a clear democratic mandate. The bottom line is that there will always be something that upsets someone somewhere, and if we do not follow majority rule, we risk oppression by the minority and the destabilization of government. Democratic laws are what define Western society in governmental stability. There is a danger of going too far, and some following this logic justify the removal of statues of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and others of our founding fathers for having owned slaves, completely ignoring the great legacy of government that they created for us that ironically allows us to even debate these issues freely and openly. There have been some unfortunate lessons from such vendettas against images and names of the past. However, doing what Stalin and Mao did, just erasing history and rewriting it to serve current purpose, does pose a danger. And it poses a danger of not only educational malpractice, of missing opportunities to educate people, and of going too far, but of casting our combined social history into a dark abyss, not allowing our combined society to be additive, but rather subtractive. George Orwell depicted it best. The most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their understanding of their history. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. Rather than being a lightning rod of discontent and racial fraction, the New York statue of Columbus should be a reminder of what has happened in the past, even if it's representative of our dark past. It can and does simultaneously represent the disastrous genocide of the indigenous people of the Americas, as well as the incredibly joyous triumphs of the Italian immigrants. The fact is that history, like life, is multidimensional, none of which is purely good or bad, but rather, where in a free society, it is what we make of it. Ignorance is the bond of servitude. There is no such thing as good or bad truth, just only truth, where truth is knowledge and knowledge is power. And that is the right view. If you like what you hear in this podcast, please click subscribe below and recommend it to a friend. Support the First Amendment and help promote thoughtful debate and balanced discussion. Click on the Patreon icon and become a part of the politically incorrect, common sense discussion.